Hey guys, so today we're be graphing absolute value inequalities. So there's a couple steps to doing this. So first, just like last time, we need to create a table of values. And remember, we like to make that vertex, that middle row. So that's where we set what's inside the absolute values equal to 0. And that'll give us our middle part of that table. Next, we use dashed lines, remember, instead of a straight line, for greater than or and less than, and a solid line for less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Then we have to shade according to y is to the left, shade above for greater than or equal to, and then shade below if it's less than or equal to. And again, I like to look at the graph and then we kind of figure it out from there. So let's do a couple of these together. So the first one is nice and simple. I have x plus 1 inside the absolute values. So step 1, let's figure out our middle part of our graph. So this would be the middle spot that we want to figure out first. So we're going to set x plus 1 equal to 0. So x equals -1. So that'll be our vertex, and it's equal to 0. And then we remember you could go backwards, and we go forwards. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place each of these values in here. So -4 plus 1 is -3. Absolute value of -3 is 3. -3 plus 1 is 2. -2 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I just plug those back in. And remember, absolute value makes it positive. So then I'm going to graph each of these points. So -4, 3. And remember, because of this, it's a dashed line when we connect them. So let's start at -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 3, 1, 2, 3. -3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. -2, 1. -1, 0. 0, 1. So it goes back up. 1, 2, 2, 3. So now, instead of connecting them with lines, because of this inequality sign, I'm going to make them dotted lines. And now the next part is we need to figure out which way we're shading. So look, y is less than, right? The alligator's eating the inequality, so y has to be everything below. So I'm going to shade everything below. So let's do number 2 together. I like number 2 because they switched it up. Now we have something outside of the absolute value that we have to consider when we're solving. So the first thing I need to do is find my center. So I'm going to do x minus 5 equal to 0, which means x equals 5. So that's our center. Now, 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 minus 2, so -2 is our y. Because remember, this one has that -2 in the outside. So now I know what to fill in for my x's. I just go down and I go up. So let's start with this inequality. 2 minus 5 is -3. -3 turns into a positive 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 5 is -2. -2 becomes a positive 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 4 minus 5 is -1. -1 turns into the absolute value of just positive 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. So we kind of see the pattern here. 6 minus 5 is 1. 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 would be another -1. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. So now I have everything I need to start graphing. For this one, we have a solid line. So 2, 1, so 1, 2, go up 1. 3, 0. 4, -1. 5, -2. 6, -1. 7, 0. 8, 1. So So here's our graph, and for this one we could do a nice solid line, and we need to figure out y is greater than. So it's eating the y, so y has to be all these values greater than. So we just shade it in. Let's do another one. I like number 3. It's a little bit easier. We need to set this equal to 0, so 4x plus 6 equals 0. Subtract 6, I get 4x equals negative 6. Divide by 4, x equals negative 3 over 2. So that's negative 1.5. Since that's a yucky type of number, I know that's negative 1.5. I'm just going to go down to negative 2. And I'm going to go up to negative 1, just so I don't have to deal with graphing fractions. And that's totally okay to do. So that's 0 and that's 1. All right, so we're just going to plug in a negative 2. Again, remember this is way easier now that we're getting a little more complicated. If we just plug in our calculator, and remember we're taking the absolute value of that answer, so negative 2 becomes a positive 2. I'm just going to do second entry and replace that negative 2 now with a negative 3. So that's positive 6. Same thing. I'm going to replace that with a negative 4. Make that a positive 10. I got to do this half of the table, so I'm just going to second entry, change that to a negative 1. Change it to a 0. Oops, entry 0. Get rid of that negative sign. So we got 6. So I have all my points. All right, so this one's going to be dashed because I don't have a line there. So let's start graphing. Negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, go up 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's off the graph. So let's do negative 3, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 2, 2, 1, 2. All right, so 1.5 is at 0. So then for negative 1, we're at 2. It's just a very narrow graph. 0 is 6. And then it'll be off the graph for the other 2. So I'm going to draw my B. Oh, I forgot to make it dashed. All right, so I made it dashed. Y is greater than, so we're coloring the inside. Let's do the next one's a really nice one too. Number 4, first thing we're going to do is we need to find our 0, so let's set 2x equal to 0, so x must be 0. Good. So let's figure out our y. If this 2 times 0 is 0, negative 0 plus 3 is just 3. So now we could go down, we could go up, and remember we're plugging it into negative, and then we're taking the absolute value of 2 times that number. So let's start here. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. The absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. 6 times negative, so that becomes negative 6 plus 3, so that's negative 3. So the next one's negative 2, so that's 4. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. This becomes negative 2 plus 3 becomes 1. So this becomes 2, so that's negative 2 plus 3. That's another 1. Negative 4 plus 3, negative 1. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Then I'm going to graph my points, so negative 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, negative 2, 1, 2, negative 1, negative 1, 1, 0, 3, 1, 1, 2, negative 1, 3, negative 3. And good, it's a solid line. I got lucky. I get very excited. I'm connecting the lines without thinking. All right, so y is less than. All right, so that's everything below, so we're going to color inside. I think we should do one more. We should do number 5. First step, let's find the center. So 2x minus 12 equals 0. I would add 12 to both sides, so I get 2x equals 12, x equals 6. So if x equals 6, right, so all this is 2 times, so that would be 0. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. So that's my center. Go down and up. And this is where using that calculator is going to help. So let's start. Let's do 2 times 3 minus 12. So we get negative 6. We're going to change that to a positive because that's the absolute value. And we're going to do minus 7. So negative 1. Let's do the next one. So I'm going to do second entry, second entry. I'm going to replace that with a 4. So negative 4 turns into a positive 4 because remember we're taking the absolute value of that. So then we're doing 4 minus 7. So that's negative 3. And let's reuse that 2 times 4. Let's change that to a 5. So now we have negative 2. Negative 2 turns into a positive 2. So do 2 minus 7. That's negative 5. I'm going to change that to a 7 now. So 2 minus 7 is negative 5. And we already know how that's going to go. It's going to go in the opposite direction. So for this one, we have a solid line. So let's graph our points. 1, 2, 3, negative 1. 4, negative 3. 5, negative 5. 6, negative 7. 7, negative 5. 8, negative 3. And then we don't really make it onto the graph. So we'll just connect the dots here. Y is also greater than, so we're going to color above. And we'll stop there.